Welcome to the Erotic Realm podcast, where we explore the psychology of darker desires. I'm Em, and if you're new here, welcome. I'm a psychosexuality nerd with a background in psychology, sociology, medical science, and Tantra. I'm also in a 24/7 collared relationship, and I'm passionate about humanizing kinksters. Join me here for in-depth one-on-one conversations as we explore the fascinating world of eroticism, one erotic realm at a time. If you love what we're doing here in the erotic realm, I'd like to ask you a quick favor. Can you follow and rate the show on Spotify? It helps the show reach more people like you. And if you haven't yet, I'd love if you could subscribe to my Substack, Psychology of Desire. This is where I go even deeper into the science of symbolism, of desire, archetypes, and erotic evolution. You'll get access to articles, unique surveys and research, and behind-the-scenes access to everything we're building. Visit psychologyofdesire.substack.com. I'll see you there. And now for today's episode. The following conversation explores the erotic eye of JC, the straight male fetish photographer behind Fet-Erotica. JC's journey into kink began when shibari blew his mind, but it didn't stop there. Through his lens, he's captured more than rope and skin. He's framed desire itself. In this episode, we explore the mind behind the magazine, how he chooses what to feature, what makes an image truly erotic, and why oral fixation fascinates him. JC reflects on his personal creative evolution, what makes an image unforgettable, and the unshot fantasies still lingering in his mind. Whether you're a voyeur, creator, or simply curious about how kink meets art, this episode offers a provocative glimpse behind the lens. Enjoy. Hi everyone, and welcome to the Erotic Realm podcast. Today I'm pleased to have with me JC. Welcome, JC.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. So normally we like to begin by getting a sense of who you are beyond your erotic life. So can you tell us, when you're not exploring kink or capturing desire, what fills your days? What lights you up outside of your sexuality?
Basically, pretty much, I'm a simple kind of guy. Day-to-day is very repetitive, but I'm in the medical field. I'm a radiation therapist. It's a great position. It's a great career. I love what I do. It's very rewarding. It occupies my Monday through Friday, leaves my weekends pretty open, which I love. I have children, which gives me the freedom to enjoy my time with them. I went to school for engineering, and it pretty much kicked my butt. So I switched over to biology, got my degree in biology, and then after a few more years of schooling, I got my degree in radiation therapy, and it's been amazing.
Okay, thank you for that glimpse. Let's shift now into the erotic. How would you describe your sexuality in your own words?
My sexuality. Well, I am a straight male, and pretty much I am Gen X, pretty hardcore. So growing up as a kid, seeing a traditional family and having traditional family views pretty much guided my direction in my sexuality as a heterosexual. And it's been that way my whole life, and I've been enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and what about kink? How do you identify within the landscape of the many kinky roles that are out there?
It's a bit of a mystery for myself. I discovered the world of kink living in Atlanta about, let's see, maybe 6 years ago. And of course, through photography, getting a little bored and mundane with the work that I was doing, I started to research the web, and I came across shibari. And that pretty much blew my mind. And I saw some pretty amazing work from different types of artists and riggers. and it really sparked my imagination. It actually brought my photography back to life. And I started to dig a little bit deeper and going into the kink community, um, learning about different types of kinks, different types of roles. And I've discovered about myself, I'm a little bit of a sadist,
Mm-hmm.
which is very interesting because being in the medical field, I always have this innate this innate feeling of helping people, but also deep down, I have this desire of getting pleasure from causing pain. And then so I come into this big mental block on how to actually proceed as participating as a sadist, but um, and I'm still working on it, you can say. I'm
Mm-hmm.
also, as a photographer, I've become quite a bit of a voyeur. So there are things that, from a voyeur's perspective, watching um, immensely increases desire and pleasure.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that shibari blew your mind. What was it about shibari that blew your mind in particular?
Believe it or not, it's the whole art behind it. It's a
Mm.
lot more than just tying a person or putting someone in a submissive role. The architecture of the ties, the complexity of the ties, and how people um, create this art, you definitely have to have imagination. It's something not as simple as just putting rope around the person and putting them in a certain position. And the way some people capture it, meaning other photographers, um, using lighting and different angles, gives it a very beautiful display.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
that pretty much captured my my attention, and it helped to restore my the love in my photography.
mm. So let's chat more about you as a photographer. What do you like to photograph and what do you get up to in that world?
So I started photographing cars. I'm a big car guy,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to a lot of car shows. And while taking pictures of car shows, someone said, "Oh, you should take pictures of girls in cars." And I said, "Sure, why not?" So I started taking pictures with models in cars. And then someone said, "Wow, that's really cool. You should take pictures of models." And I said, "Sure, why not?" So I started taking pictures of models. And that led me down the path of beauty, glamour, fashion photography. And being from New York, there's a huge industry for that.
Mm.
So finding people to work with was very easy. But like I said before, after a while, it did get a little mundane, very repetitive, and I started looking for different things to do.
Mm-hmm. And so what has that evolved into now? It's my understanding that you have a magazine.
I do. So being in Atlanta, where when I discovered that shibari and kink was interesting, definitely outside of the box of what I was normally doing. Um, and being in Atlanta again, a large city where there are a lot of different people, a lot of different interests. Definitely a kink community there. Um, I started shooting more kink, and my photography started to develop and evolve into this world. And now I had these images. Um, and I had nowhere really to submit them, display them. Um, Kink in the overall community is not widely accepted. It's not sociably accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it gets a lot of criticism. It's looked down upon. It's judged very harshly, and which I find very interesting and ironic because a lot of people who do the judging have their own kinks that they
Mm.
probably don't tell the world about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, I had all of these images. I had no idea what to do. There were a few magazines here in the United States. They were accepting submissions. I wasn't able to get into any of them. And then I came across another fetish magazine that I ended up um, becoming friends with the owner. We spoke a lot. I did interviews for them. I submitted my photography to them. I helped them with their website. I helped them recruit interested individuals to put in submissions for the magazine. So I was doing a lot of legwork, and in return, I was getting a lot of exposure from it, which was great. At the moment, I needed it. And then I come to find out that they really weren't exploring fetish in and of itself, but more building a website in order to create a following so that they can turn around and sell the website for a profit.
Mm.
And for me, that's great. Everyone needs to make money, and we all need to eat. But on my end, it left me pretty much empty-handed and almost abandoned. And so again, I found myself in a position where, what do I do with my images? What do I do with my work? Should I continue this type of work? And at the moment, I had no idea about FetLife. And so I said to myself, well, I was already doing a lot of the legwork for this magazine. Why don't I just make my own?
Mm.
And and I love the idea of fetish, and I love the idea of erotic. They are different, but sometimes they cross over. And I decided to call it Fet-Erotica.
Mm-hmm.
The magazine is a dual magazine, has two sides. One side being fetish, the other side being erotic. And I separated them because you can clearly make the distinction between the two. And I thought it would be a cool idea to separate them and make them into just a magazine that has kind of two issues in one,
Mm-hmm.
sharing both fetish and erotic art.
Mm.
So
Beautiful.
yeah, it's been a pretty interesting path that I've gone down, and doing pretty good.
Okay, wonderful. So, what would you say is the overall mission of the magazine?
Pretty much a space where artists can come and submit their work, and at any level. It's not just clear professional art. If you're a beginner, you're more than welcome to submit to the magazine. A lot of people have this idea that, oh, it's a magazine, I'm not good enough to get in.
Mm.
But I usually welcome everyone at all levels. Everyone has to start somewhere, and um, and I say that because I found myself in the same situation a while back. So allowing people to have a space to send in their work, to share their work, to be able to um, have a space where there is no judgment on what you love to do is kind of like the goal that I've been going with.
Mm-hmm. That's a great mission. Now, one of the traditions on the podcast is exploring a quote with you. And there's a quote by Degas that I found that speaks to what I imagine it's like to create erotic art. So, Edgar Degas was a French painter known for capturing women in everyday, often intimate moments. And he once said, "Art is not what you see, but what you make others see." And I was thinking of it in relation to your photography because you don't just show kink, you evoke something, you get people to feel something. So I wanted to ask you a few questions around this. When you
Okay.
create or curate an image, what do you want people to see or feel? Does it change depending on the image? Is it an overall feeling you're looking for? What are you aiming for there?
It's a very complex question
Mm-hmm.
from my point of view.
Cool.
Sorry. So working with these different individuals that have different ideas um, helps me to guide them into different themes, into different concepts that I'd like to shoot, and most of them are driven by themes that we have in the magazine. So, for example, the current theme is oral fixation,
Mm-hmm.
and having a person um, get into that headspace and being able to portray what I see in my mind to then capture on camera can be a little challenging sometimes. And the biggest challenge is being able for them to see it the way you see it. And then lighting and everything else comes into play to further portray what I want people to see.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Oral fixation is pretty cool. From my point of view, I love oral fixation, mostly mainly with spit, saliva. And it's something that having no control over your saliva dropping down in a sexual position is very alluring and enticing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I try to communicate with the people I work with to try to get that in return. And the biggest thing is headspace. And in order to capture that, both parties have to be able to communicate and be on the same page for it.
Mm-hmm. Wonderfully said. So you talked a little bit about oral fixation there, but we haven't really chatted about that, I don't think, yet on the podcast. Can you tell us more about what you mean by that phrase in case someone listening hasn't heard of it before?
Sure. Oral fixation. And again, I myself am pretty new to the fetish world, and it's a learning process every day. Oral fixation has anything to do with people who have a fixation on things involving their mouth. So, for example, smoking is a pretty simple one,
Mm.
but it's a habit that involves inhaling smoke and um, something that excuse me, dealing with the mouth, and it's a day-to-day basis, and it's something because it is a habit. um, there's a fixation behind it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just inhaling the smoke, it's actually the whole process of putting something through your mouth, inhaling and then exhaling, um, biting your nails, um, anything that has to do. It's kind of like an anxious expression of, or it's an expression of your anxiety.
Mm. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about smoking being an oral fixation before, but yeah, that makes sense. It's fascinating how you learn something new about the kink world every day.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm so curious now. Can you share a time when one of your photographs that you've taken sparked an unexpected reaction or insight from yourself, or perhaps a model that was involved? Was there a time when you realized you were into something that you didn't know about before after taking a photo, perhaps?
Oh, I'd have to think about that one.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, um, one of the things that I really love is when I work with a model for the first time or a couple of times, and they're a little uneasy or uncertain about the type of work that we're going to do. And I did describe the work that I do publish is fetish and erotic art, and the biggest word in that sentence is art.
Mm.
Um, there's a huge difference between fetish, erotic, and then fetish or erotic art, because um, there's a very fine line between what is art and what is porn.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it gets blurred, but not sure if people realize, but fetish can be an art form. It can be displayed as art, even though you're displaying sexuality, you're displaying something that nudity, an act that is not very socially accepted, but it can be an art form. I mean, the statue of David is up on display in nude for everyone to see, but no one calls it porn.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So being able to work with a person, going back to the original question, being able to work with a person, them being a little uneasy, but then going through the structure of the concept and how we're going to do it, and then seeing their reaction to the final product and the way their face lights up
Mm.
is very rewarding and gratifying for me,
Mm-hmm.
because I was able to help them take an uneasy or something that they weren't maybe accepting, and realizing that you can make it into something else where you're not compromising anyone's boundaries or um, uh, pushing or trying to make something sexual when it can be art.
Mm. Yeah, I wanted to ask you a bit more about that. What tells you this is the image for the magazine? Is it the reaction of the model when you show them the images? Is it a feeling you have? Is it something else?
So one of the biggest, or a few of the biggest things that I focus on, one being quality
Mm-hmm.
of the image, how the image is created, the context of the image, the composition of the image. These are the same guidelines that I think about when I'm trying to pick out a cover for the magazine. An image. So even though I do have an open door policy for anyone at any level to submit their work, I do decline some people because I feel that at some level their work needs a little bit more work, and I try to give constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
um, Work on your lighting, work on your composition, try to use different models. And the reason I do this is because I'm not just rejecting them. I'm giving them a point of view that we're all at different levels, and in order for you to meet a certain standard, you have to work hard at it. You have to create goals in order to reach that standard. It
Mm-hmm.
helps you feel you've achieved something.
Mm.
um, so when I'm looking at images, I'm looking for quality, composition, um, the type of work, does it fit with the theme, and then I make a decision whether it's going to go in the magazine or not.
Mm. Okay. Now, if you could choose only one image that best describes how you see fetish and erotica, do you have one that comes to mind in this moment? And if so, what would it be and why?
There is one that I recently created.
Mm.
For me, fetish art um, has a lot to do, from my point of view and perspective. Of course, for everyone, it's different. So many people may share it. Many people may say, "Well, no, I don't agree," which is completely okay. But for me, leather harnesses, um, in combination. So it's almost a whole outfit being together.
Hmm.
Very, very similar to when people wear latex. Um, and latex is huge, but for me, leather harnesses put together with some fishnets, fishnet outfit, um, some some type of gag or some type of blindfold, putting it all together into a piece that you can then set it into a composition and photograph it is a very fetishy look for me,
Hmm.
if that answers your question.
So I'm really curious to hear, how do you decide what the next theme of your magazine will be? Is it perhaps a theme that you're exploring in your eroticism currently, or is it based off the submissions that you get from photographers or something else?
A little bit of all of the above.
Hmm.
It's one of the things that I find very challenging running the magazine. Um, and in my defense, I pretty much run the magazine alone. So I do the marketing, to the creative exploration, to the recruiting of artists to submit. So it's a very, very in-depth job in order to run the magazine all alone. I've been searching for people to help, but it's always very difficult because I treat it like my baby, and it's very hard for me to let go and have others help. Um, so picking a theme, in the beginning, it was a lot easier, being that I was learning about fetishes, learning about what's erotic, what's not erotic, what's a kink. Um, and I came across a whole bunch of stuff, everywhere from latex to BDSM to oral fixation to body art, and wax has been a big one. Knife play, blood play, all have been great. But I've gotten to a point where, okay, what's next? What We got to keep things interesting. We have to keep people engaged, and that's been a little bit challenging for me.
Hmm.
There was a whole issue where I dedicated to just I don't know the pronunciation of the fetish, but it's sushi, pretty much
Mm.
creating art on or displaying sushi on a nude body as art, and people loved it, and it's
Mm-hmm.
great, and I'm definitely going to repeat it. But it has gone from almost month to month trying to figure out what are we doing next.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's an idea that pops into my head. Sometimes it's something that I'm working with, working on a project with someone. Um, and lately it's been more of a last minute thing. What are we doing next?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I leave the submission call open and I pretty much say, hey, whatever you guys want to send me, we're going to just toss it all in together. Um, which sometimes I have to do because repeating the themes um, too often and too close time frame too close together, I feel like doesn't give the variety that the magazine should give to people.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely something that's challenging. There are things that I look at every day in life, and I try to figure out what's going to spark the imagination for the next theme to the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Sometimes I communicate with people. I ask questions, and believe it or not, I've even thrown out questions in the audience saying, "Hey guys, what do you want to see in the magazine? What fetishes do you guys enjoy?" And it's been very difficult to get a response.
Mm-hmm.
um, I may use FetLife a little bit more to try to see what people respond, but I feel like people in this community may be thinking, hey, you're the fetish magazine person, you should be telling us.
Mm-hmm.
So, not sure exactly where, but I'm always trying to think of new things that we can add diversity to the magazine.
Okay, so what's been your favorite theme so far, and where do you suggest people start if they want to check out your magazine?
Well, my favorite, so since shibari was something that introduced me to the kink community, shibari by far has been my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it goes down to the complexity and the imagination required to create that type of art. I find mind-boggling. Um, I practice shibari myself. I'm still learning. I don't consider myself a rigger or an an expert on it. I consider myself a novice, someone who's still learning. But I do a lot of ties with models for my photography, and it is by far my favorite. And to the point where I created a second magazine called Torsion, and
Mm.
Torsion is solely dedicated to shibari and kimbaku art. Um, and where you can find the magazine, I'm online on the website. I'm on all social media, Instagram, Twitter, FetLife. Instagram's been very challenging. I've given up on Facebook, but
Mm-hmm.
Instagram's the main go to. Instagram, FetLife. Twitter's okay, but I feel Twitter is used for a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm. It sure is, and that's under Fet-Erotica, right? Where people can find you.
Yes, so it would
Mm-hmm.
be FET dash erotica.com.
Okay, wonderful. Another tradition we have on the podcast is exploring a research article together. And I found a research study that digs right into the heart of what you do. It's about how kink is represented in visual culture. The title is Mainstreaming Kink, the politics of BDSM representation in US popular media. And it explores how BDSM is portrayed in US media and what that does to our collective imagination of kink. So, when you think about BDSM imagery in mainstream media, what do you think it often gets wrong and what do you think it gets right?
BDSM media. So I'm a bit of an introvert, and
Mm-hmm.
I've also pretty much closed my doors to the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
We're living in a time where um, politics are tough, the economy's tough, and the decisions being made right now in politics are very alarming. But so I'm very closed off to that, and um, knowing what's going on in the world has been something that I haven't been open or welcoming to. And I guess I've been living in my own little bubble with
Mm-hmm.
my photography and my working in the medical field. I'm pretty content and happy with helping people and just living with the magazine and communicating with different artists and people with similar interests in the kink community. But I'm assuming um, BDSM in media is not portrayed in a way that we probably see that's appreciated in the kink community.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know that the overall um, world does not accept BDSM or the kink community openly and has its very judgmental and very critical opinion about BDSM and kink. I feel that and overall the media portrays as BDSM something that is very negative, something that is has been taken and twisted into something that it really isn't. Um, so, tough question to answer, but I
Mm-hmm.
definitely don't think media has a positive outlook on BDSM.
So, do you see that as one of your missions, providing that positive influence and showing people the positive aspects of BDSM through your photography?
That is an excellent question and something that I have not thought about. But I do appreciate you kind of um, bringing it into my space and my world because it's definitely something that I should be exploring. I've thought about doing some maybe local galleries, seeing if I can go to galleries in the area where they would be open to having a little exhibition on my work, and maybe other photographers in the community that would be interested in participating as well, and hopefully doing something like that and being able to show the expression of BDSM, the meaning behind what artists believe BDSM to be, and the individuals who practice it can help overcome that barrier.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yeah, I'd love to see what happens if you do that. You have to let me know if it's happening and perhaps we can chat about it after it happens.
I would love to. It's something that I've had in the back of my mind,
Mm-hmm.
and now that you bring up that question, I feel like it would be a perfect opportunity to help people realize what the community is about and what BDSM is about.
Beautiful. I'm curious to hear, how has your own understanding of eroticism shifted now that you've curated so many different visual stories over time? Has your perception of what eroticism is changed?
Yes. So being a little bit of a voyeur um, and loving to appreciate um, nudity in an art form, um, being able to see that being nude is not something that is um, looked down upon, or it, our idea of nudity is very skewed by the outside world. The
Mm-hmm.
outside world, I mean, media, how people believe one should be. Um, we're all criticized and expected to act a certain way, and we learn things on how to be socially acceptable, and it creates conflicts in our personal lives because a lot of people love nudity and they love nude art, but it's very frowned upon.
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's very connected to the act of sex. It's very connected to pornography, and I feel that that needs to be broken. Now, from my point of view, coming in, knowing very little about what is erotic, um, someone once told me the quote. I consider it a quote because it's not mine, but I do put it in the mission statement of the magazine. I asked what people thought erotic is, and someone's answer was, erotic is um, what you believe or what you see to stimulate your mind that way.
Mm.
And I find it very interesting because um, erotic or this type of art is very visual. Men are very visual. They get information through visual cues, and erotic art is exactly that. Um, and coming into it, I was very shy. I had this mental block about nudity, but deep down inside in my core, I found stimulation, excitement, the idea of nudity. Also, being Gen X, the idea of nudity was very taboo. I was raised that way, coming
Mm-hmm.
from a Catholic background, um, which I don't follow or practice. Um, I strayed away from that as a young person, but um, my idea of erotic was just basically seeing someone naked.
Mm-hmm.
And then it evolved and grew into something that erotic is something that you feel, something that you see that stimulates your mind to make you feel that feeling that turns you on, that gets you going, that gets you excited. It's very difficult to describe because it's more of a feeling than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Um, and I don't want to do it injustice by um, limiting its capability through just simple words. But my impression of erotic has definitely changed.
Mm.
And like I said before, something that is fetish can still be erotic, um, because it stimulates the person's mind to that point
Mm-hmm.
where they feel that's erotic. But it can be a fetish concept.
Mm.
Um, I hope that answers the question.
Sure does. I love that evolution. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
Is there an unshot scene still lingering in your mind, one you haven't brought to life yet, something that you're looking forward to shooting?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wax play is a huge thing that I came across. I dedicated an issue early on when I started the magazine. Um, I, a lot of people in England are heavy into the kink community, and I saw some work by a few photographers out in London that use wax in ways that I would never imagine. It's a lot more complex than just dripping wax on someone. They did it to the point where the wax is poured on the body to create like a mountain of wax. And then they've turned around and put people in different positions, and then overlaying the wax in multiple layers, and then creating some type of atmosphere to capture the whole scene, which was mind blowing for me. And it's definitely something that I have not done yet, but I want to explore.
Mm. Beautiful. I love a bit of wax play. Now, as part of our conversation today, I asked you to bring along something to share, such as a quote, book, or a movie that's influenced your sexuality. Can you share with us what you've brought along today and how it shaped your understanding of your erotic realm?
This was a tough one. So I had Quentin Tarantino is a big
Mm.
guy in the United States, and I never thought about this until somebody told me that he has a huge foot fetish.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "Hey, do you remember that movie From Dusk Till Dawn?" And I was like, "Yeah." They said, "Do you remember that scene where Selma Hayek was on top of the bar dancing almost nude? I think she was nude, and she just poured a beer down her leg and shoved her foot in Quentin's mouth, and he just drank everything that was flowing." I was like, you know what? That's crazy. I never would have thought. And then there are other movies that similarly share that the expressions of kink and whatnot. Um, there are several movies. That's one of them. Um, Another one is Pulp Fiction. And then, but the one I wanted to bring to the table was Interview with the Vampire. So I'm a big movie person. I used to read books when I was a lot younger, but again, I'm a guy. I'm visually stimulated, so I just love movies. Um, and Interview with the Vampire. Uh, has a lot of layers behind what I feel is erotic. The idea of being immortal, the idea of um, power exchange between one person and another, the idea of doing bad, but yet it's still so good.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they've all kind of like molded my foundation of fetish and erotic art, leaning more on the erotic side. Like I on the erotic side, I feel being a vampire, if one could be one, would be extremely erotic.
Mm-hmm. Have you done
Um,
a vampire edition of the magazine?
I have done some blood play, which is
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool, and I create my own blood using basically a lot of sugar and food coloring,
Okay.
which makes it edible, and it's great because people can put it in their mouths and do all kinds of things with it. Um, I have done a blood shoot portraying um, a vampire scene, and uh, I love the whole 1800s kind of vibe with the Victorian dress and that old nostalgic look, but yet being a vampire and portraying that, putting all of that together, blood play, the Victorian costume, and just a little bit of lighting and the right capture provides amazing images.
Mm. Okay, I'll have to check it out. We have another tradition on the podcast where I ask the guest a question sourced by the listeners. And one of the listeners wants to know, do you think anyone can be an erotic photographer? And if so, what is the best way to start?
Can anyone be an erotic photographer? I believe anyone can be an erotic photographer, but it takes a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of work, meaning because, of course, besides the fundamentals of learning photography, shooting erotic art, it's something that you have to be comfortable with yourself. Being honest with yourself allows you to be honest with other people. And what that does is it creates a safe space. It allows you to speak exactly what your thoughts are on the subject that you want to capture. It also provides transparency and creates a bond between the subject and the photographer, where I think one of the most important things is making the model or the subject feel comfortable,
Mm.
allowing them to feel safe, comfortable in their own space, will provide you with an amazing result on what you're trying to capture. So that would be my advice to someone who wants to get into erotic photography.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that is not easily done. I think recently I feel a little bit more comfortable with myself, being honest with myself, to say that I'm able to sit down with someone and have a conversation without feeling embarrassment or without feeling I'm being judged, knowing that they're here for the same thing and we're just laying out what the boundaries are and what we want to accomplish.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Can you share with us a peak experience that you've had, an experience that really sticks out from your erotic journey as a photographer?
Um, let's see. To be honest, it's been more technical um, than more interactions with the models that I work with. And what I
Mm-hmm.
mean by that is, I recently purchased a new camera, which has um, tremendously changed the quality of my work, and I feel it has allowed me to grow into the photographer that I've always wanted to become. Now, a lot of people say, oh, it's not really the equipment you work with. You can create art with um, an iPhone or just a simple camera. And yes, they're absolutely right. Photography is something that is very difficult. And like every artist, um, some people have the eye for it and some don't. I like to think about it as someone who can sing is something that really is not you can work to getting good at singing, but you're not going to be a professional because I feel it's a gift that you have. It's an innate gift that you have
Right.
that you can't learn.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have it and some people don't. On my end, I feel like I have to work a little bit harder to capture the things that I want. I don't have the innate eye that these amazing photographers who come out, pick up a camera, take a picture, and it's, award winning. Um, so purchasing the camera has definitely allowed me to grow as a photographer personally.
Mm. Okay, so if you had to sum up your sexuality in just one word today, what would that word be and why?
Um, I want to say passionate.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying that because I'm heterosexual. I love women. I love the architecture of women. Women are very beautiful in every way, and their physical being is beautiful, and I love to capture that, which is a big reason why I got into this. But I say passionate because um, I'm passionate about how I feel in terms of my sexuality as a heterosexual. And why the word passionate? For me, the word passionate has value, has integrity, it has honesty. It's real. It's to be real and true to oneself and your partner, and it's dedicated, and it's welcoming and caring and giving all at the same time. Uh,
Mm.
my definition of being passionate as a heterosexual with my partner.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure all the women listening will love to hear that, so thank you. Now, what's next for you and Fet-Erotica? What's something you're looking forward to in the future?
I'm looking to get to continue the magazine, of course. Hopefully, it grows a lot more than it has. It's been very difficult to grow. Social media has been tough to play with. Their sandbox can be very difficult in terms of the community standards that we all have grown to not like so much,
Mm-hmm.
especially Instagram. I'm hoping the magazine continues to grow. But I've been looking to get more exposure by going to more events and more shows. Like I did mention before, hopefully we can get like some type of gallery going on where I can exhibit my work,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully exhibit other people's work along with all of the artists from all around the world who submit to the magazine, as long as I get their permission. Um, this way we can help get the word out and help people learn a little bit more about the kink community and what it's all about, but also events where like kink events, even porn events, just being able to get that type of exposure, hopefully getting some booths, selling some magazines, letting people know what Fet-Erotica is, what it stands for, and hopefully growing a little bit more that way.
That's so exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next for you. I know you mentioned it earlier, but maybe we can mention again here. If people want to follow you and get in contact with you and see your work, where can they find you?
The website's always a very solid place. It's www.fet-erotica.com. I'm also on social media. You can search for Fet-Erotica and hopefully it pops up.
Cool.
You can Google it as well and hopefully it pops up.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I Google it, it may be somewhere down on the Google page. It's there.
Okay, great. I'd like to thank you for being so open and sharing yourself with me and our listeners today, JC.
Thank you very much. It was great. I'm happy you had me on.
Thank you again. I'm Em, and this has been the Erotic Realm podcast. Thank you for listening to the Erotic Realm. If this episode stirred something in you, please take a moment to follow the show, leave a rating, or write a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It helps more people find the show and brings visibility to this deeper conversation about eroticism and self-understanding. I'd also like to invite you to dive deeper into the psychology of desire including my writing, research, and upcoming courses over at psychologyofdesire.com. And if you want the full experience, join thousands of curious minds on my Substack at psychologyofdesire.substack.com, where I release the Psychology of Desire case files, behind-the-scene thoughts, and intimate reflections every week, plus more. Until next time, stay curious, stay embodied, and keep exploring. Also, as always, stay perverted.